Hi, my name's Helen Millar, and welcome to my channel. This is Head to Heart Living, how to live a life less from fear and more from love. So, you're going through a spiritual awakening, you think you've already been through one, and you feel like you've got your finger on the pulse about whether you're judging people or discerning people, or maybe you feel that there is no need to have any discernment because everybody in the spiritual community is fabulous and is going to be a good person. That's what I used to think. When I had my spiritual awakening, it was 100 miles an hour. It went full blast, and I went from not being conscious, not realizing what was going on between my ears was not actually who I was, but these thoughts that I assumed were my reality were not. So I then suddenly realized how critical I was, how judgmental I was, not only of other people, but primarily of myself. And all of the judgments that I was spewing out constantly on other people were really because I hated myself so much. I knew I hated myself, but I didn't realize how judgmental my inner dialogue was consistently. Then I went into woke up and sort of hanging out in spiritual communities and plant medicine circles and thought everybody was, I put everybody on a pedestal above me and thought they're not having these thoughts. They're not, they look how nice they are. People come up and call me sister and hug me and they don't even know me. And God, and I was so out of my comfort zone and I revered everybody and I had no discernment, none. And over the last decade of then realizing that what people say and what people do are often two different things, and realizing there is as much BS in the spiritual communities, the religious communities, and the Buddhist communities as there is everywhere else, because it's to do with the level of consciousness and compassion. And that is unfortunately or fortunately, it's not to any specific niche. It is everywhere, which is great because it means we can stop judging people. So let me break this down a little bit. And as I clock the clock, there's 2 thumbs up, 2 people in the house, and it was 2:22, and it's 2022. Oh goodness me. Numerology, gotta love it. Indeed. So if this sounds of interest to you, if it resonates, if it rattles your tree, if it you feel like you need to share this with some people, maybe they've just woken up and they're all a bit wet behind the ears, please do like, subscribe, and share. I've been making a video every week at least for the last 2 years. So all of that's done from the passion and love of my heart to help you guys not have as many what the hell's going on, I don't want to be here anymore moments as I've had. Or even if you're having them, which is totally fine, making you feel less alone whilst they're going on. Right. Feeling a bit anarchic today, which is the best angle. Hey, do you know, like, is this good? It's nearly my birthday and it's the height of Leo season and full moon crazy and Lionsgate. I don't know. Energy is just strong. Energy is strong. I'm feeling it. I was holding ceremonies at a festival all weekend and it was really hot and I love that kind of heat. And I've come back to office desk life and finding it a little challenge. I want to be in the fields, frolicking and helping people and doing readings, which I enjoy because people get a lot from them and I've been getting lots of great feedback, which is lovely for my ego, but it's most lovely to know that I'm being of service when I'm holding space and, using what I've learned to help other people. If that sounds of interest to you, all my links are below. If you would like to get in touch, if you feel like you need a coach, if you feel like you want a reading, they're there. So, difference between judgment and discernment. Judgment, and is it helpful? So when I first started waking up spiritually, I became so judgmental. I just became a different type of judgmental, right? Before I was judging myself extremely. Then I started judging other people, and I became vegan. I was judging people who weren't vegan. And I was really into recycling, and I was doing that anyway, but I was judging everybody who wasn't saving the planet with such militant enthusiasm as I had. I was judging people who had certain types of tattoos. I was judging people depending what party they voted for. I was judging people on what they wear, what they ate, what they drank. And as I started to clean up my act and stop with, drugs and alcohol and things that were like harming me, I was judging everybody who was still doing them because my ego was still in its infancy, it was still still there to make, still wanted, I still didn't have a strong sense of self or big picture idea of what this universe is, so that I still needed to unconsciously feel better and different to other people so that I could make sense of my life and feel had something to cling on to feel good whilst my very foundations were being shaken up during my spiritual awakening. So that was what was going on with the judgment. And really, the more, and especially since 2020, that was a big sigh, wasn't it? Especially since 2020, when you realize that there is no group that has been immune from deception, brainwashing, cruelty, illusion, all the things that we've all experienced and gone through, you realize that actually this is a human experience rather than a spiritual experience. Everything is spiritual in some respects, and it's an energetic one. And so the judgment has never really been helpful. Jesus, as supposedly said, he, she, whoever without sin, throw the first stone, which essentially means there's no point condemning other people, getting your big pointy finger out at other people, because we've all got the human condition, right? We've all got aspects of ourselves that we can be working on to improve, to be less cruel, more kind, more compassionate, less divisive, less judgmental, less bitter, and more helpful, create more value in our life. And in order to do that, we need to judge ourselves less and have more compassion for ourselves, because we are designed to feel all the feelings, to have all the experiences, to feel wretched and rubbish and unfocused and angry and joyful and abundant and helpful and compassionate and all the other things. This is part, and the wider our heart opens, the more that we allow that, we become sensitive and feel the interconnectedness of all things, the more we feel, not the less. And so this is why discernment then becomes so important, because it is discernment that allows us to have boundaries, and it allows us to stay with our heart open, to stay with compassion without falling into the empath trap, which I think is another video I need to make. I'm just going to write that down. So it is without falling into the empath trap. Oops, that's a pencil. Without falling into the empath trap the third time, without being what some people would call like a bleeding heart liberal, which I used to say, I am a bleeding heart liberal, I want to help everybody. Yeah, but it's the same mindset, different side of the coin. There's not enough. Oh, okay, I won't go into that, it's too big a tangent. So essentially, discernment is needed to realize that just because somebody wears a certain outfit, has certain letters after their name, is a doctor or a priest or a shaman or your partner, or just gave you an amazing orgasm or gave birth to you, it doesn't matter. what they are in relationship to you, you need to have discernment, because we are all at the mercy of the human condition. And that what is right for you one day or one moment might not be right for you the next day. And so it's having discernment, which is the deep listening to deep intuition, deep understanding of what is right for you at that moment, and knowing that often information comes through the body, not through the mind. So learning to listen to our body, knowing that when you walk into a room and the energy feels off, that you do a U-turn and walk out again, not that you hang around because, oh, their poster had hearts and kisses on it, so I must not know what my body's telling me and I'm going to override that. Or society says that I need to get in debt to have an MBA in order to have a good career, and that will make me happy, or whatever. Discernment is essentially learning to listen to yourself, trust yourself, and realize that you are equally important as everybody else on this planet, and as such have the right to live your life with absolute freedom as a sovereign being, and judging whether you are when you become out of balance with that, and when constantly discerning, judging where your ego is at play, where it's your spiritual ego, which is just your ego with a different outfit on, or whether you are truly operating from your heart or your head, which is essentially the difference between judgment and discernment. The heart can discern and the head judges. Yes, that's just coming to me in the moment. I think I agree with myself. I think I agree with that. Judgment comes from the head and discernment comes from the heart. Should I coin that? Copyright. Oh, put it on a t-shirt and make loads of money. Anyway, that's a poor judgment. Let's not do that. If anyone is live, thank you so much for being with me live. If you have any questions or thoughts, you want to put them in the chat. Again, hearts, thumbs, love, comments, disagreement. Let's get a good discussion going. All welcome. Other things I wanted to mention about judgment and discernment is that when you realize, when you hear those thoughts, when you stop being totally engrossed with them being your reality, and you realize that you are judging other people, how to come out of that is breathe, because that is coming from a place of dis-ease, of discomfort within you, that is then being splintered out and projected at other people, because that's so much easier to do. And actually coming back to our heart. So for example, I shall tell you a story. I met a friend for coffee this week, and we were having a catch up. I was having quite a out there for some people conversation, as is my wont, about a alien-esque experience that I'd had in the few days before. And this woman was sitting at a table next to us outside this cafe and started I could see her like really leaning in, like in our sort of space, and in the end sort of just interrupted and sort of said, I couldn't help hearing. I just want to say I've never had an experience. I really want to have an experience, and basically just pushed herself into our conversation, which was fine. Sort of, that happened, and then considering she had brought herself into our conversation, and after about 5 minutes, she said something to me. She said to me, you better wash your mouth out with coffee. And I thought, that's really rude. But I didn't get angry. I just kind of was almost a bit in shock about what? And I said, well, she said, well, you're deliberately being offensive. And I said, oh, that's not, I'm sorry if you found that offensive. I'm not quite sure how, because I said it was something along the lines of the waves of fear that were generated in 2020. It was a sort of blanket statement like that. Anyway, she thought that I was somehow having a really subtle dig of an organization that she's part of, that she briefly touched on 5 minutes previously. I hadn't really registered. And I said, no, I was talking more about mainstream media and the governments. And she said, oh, right. I thought you were talking about this. And I said, okay, well, no worries. And then she, well, thank you for explaining yourself. And I said, yeah, well, it's no problem, but maybe in the future, if you are offended, you could seek to understand what that person meant before, rudely responding. And she said, I wasn't rude. I said, okay, well, maybe like I didn't intend to be rude, you didn't intend to be rude, but I feel telling someone you don't know to wash their mouth out with coffee, for me, that felt rude. And she said, oh, thank you for telling me that. I say that to people a lot. And I was like, okay. Well, she said, I thought it was sort of like a friendly twist on wash your mouth out with soap. And I was like, maybe if you're good friends, but we don't know each other, or we didn't till 5 minutes ago. And she, anyway, we sort of left that situation. My friend said to me, she said, you were very good. You didn't get angry. I said, no, I don't get angry. And in hindsight, I was reflecting on it a bit later, and it irritated me, but that was because I was in a worse mood. But I don't, because she's, and in the same way, the outrageous violent things that have happened to me in my life and things like that, it's like, if I judge that out of the people who do those actions or whatever, then the consequence is I suffer more. And I have a very strong sense of morality and what I feel is right and wrong for me, strong sense of discernment, that I'm not going to start, if I stop judging people, that I'm going to run around and kill people or, create harm and destruction in the world. But I can have compassion, and I can move out of judgment that most people at most times are doing the best with what they've got. And if that, someone's really rude to somebody they don't know in a coffee shop, or maybe she wasn't, whatever, with that situation or another, she's doing her best at that point, right? And if I harbor, and that woman, I'm just getting, myself wound up. And then when I'm wound up, I'm going to have less discernment, make more poor choices, want to reach for, whatever it might be, vodka, chocolate, beef burgers, gambling, my ex's number, whatever, to make myself feel better, or have a go at, or propel that anger around, unless I let it move through me. And when I have good discernment, I can have the clarity for going, that was her stuff, this is my stuff, let's move on. Hopefully that is a clear example, if it wasn't clear already, about judgment and discernment. And I think I'm going to leave it there today. Not a super long video. I will be back next week. I have amazing ceremonial grey cacao to help you through this super intense energetic month. I have readings available and coaching slots. There's not many left. So if you are interested, the links are below. Feel free to go straight ahead and book, or jump on a discovery call. And as I said, I don't have a huge amount of time this month left because things have been picking up. So don't wait. If you are feeling called to have a chat with me, very happy to do that and explain more about how I work. And I've just had a real lot. You like my anecdotes, they're always entertaining. Thanks, Nick. Yes, I find my life quite entertaining sometimes when I'm in a good mood with it. So yes, that's what I have to share today. Thank you for being here. Thanks for tuning in. And do feel free to like, subscribe, and share if this has helped. And good luck navigating the awakening process. Big love from me, and see you sometime. Ciao. Big love.